welcome to another PSP. Today we'll be breaking down the number 6 ranked team per the power ranking surveys. That is BigPeach's Fenton Melonheads. That's right. I believe this is actually our first team coming in here who was a playoff team last year. So kind of nice that we're seeing ourselves start to, make our way to the top of the list as we're rounding in at about 8 right now. Quickly, we will look back at that season from the Melonheads. BigPeach, as they were known at the time, finished last year in 5th place with a 12-10 record. And unfortunately did lose in the LGDS, of course, the Lollygagger Divisional Series, to Hideki Anno. So, going to be looking to, bounce back from a first-round exit last year. To do that, we saw the Melonheads really only brought in a couple of players. They felt pretty strong in their squad. We saw Joey Cantillo and Bryson Stott both come in during the offseason. A couple of additions I actually really like, particularly Cantillo, and I've kind of put my stamp on him as a guy I think is going to have a, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but a kind of, an impressive season. I think he's going to have a really good season. Yes, and then Bryson Stott is just a quality utility type guy who can play both those middle infield spots. So you love to see that. On the outside, quite a few players lost to expansion. We did see Mason Wynn, Shane Bieber, and Aaron Nola all head to other teams via the expansion draft. And then also Matt McLean and Andrew Vaughn were traded. So not too busy in offseason, but I think that you will see pretty quickly not too much needed to be done with this Fenton Melonheads team. So let's talk over their lineup. This is going to be one where I'm going to be saying a lot of numbers from that IBW Top 1000 list. Let's see. By this, we have 8 people on that list. So, 8 of the, 11 spots in the lineup. This is a stacked lineup. Let's talk it over real quick. Drake Baldwin leads things off, ranked at number 88, of course, reigning Rookie of the Year winner for the Braves. His teammate, Matt Olson, will be manning first base. He ranks at number 56 on that list. Marcus Semien, newly acquired Met, will be at second base with Isaac Paredes over at third base for Houston. At shortstop, we'll see J.J. Weatherholt, who is, by all accounts, very, very likely to break camp with the Cardinals. His peak projection is kind of a 280, 800 OPS type player, really plus hit tool, and yearly, 2020 type guy. That is sort of his projection as a big leaguer. He's got a lot of stuff you want in a prospect. He's got safety, he's got upside, and yeah, it looks like he's going to start the year with the Cardinals. So he actually ranks at number 66 on that list. IBW pretty high on him. Interesting note just about Weatherholt. He was acquired along with another player who we will discuss later in exchange for Jackson Churio and Jung-Hoo Lee over to the now Portland Pioneers. So nice to see, one of those prospects involved in a pretty big trade, obviously, in exchange for a guy like Churio, who I believe was a second-round pick in our draft. Good to see him breaking the majors. Addison Barger is holding up down the infield spot right now, the flex infield, with left field being manned by Yordan Alvarez. It was a close call, but when we fixed up those positional requirements, he did end up qualifying as a left fielder, and boy, is that good, because he ranks at 26 on the IBW list. Center field, we've got Kyle Stowers holding things down. Real breakout player for the Marlins last year. And the player I mentioned earlier who came over along with J.J. Weatherholt in exchange for Chorio and Jung-Hoo Lee, who has since been flipped. Corbin Carroll, who ranks at number 4 on the list. The only concern is what he's going to look like after that hamate bone surgery, but he is just an absolute beast and absolutely deserves that top 10 ranking. Randy Rosarena at number 82 on the list is holding down the flex outfield spot with Mr. Schwarbaum's himself, Kyle Schwarber, ranking at number 32 on that list in the utility DH spot. He will be spending probably his whole season there because he does not have any positional flexibility at this point other than util. One other guy I do want to mention is Dylan Cruz, who Obviously did not have the season that anyone thought or hoped that he would last year. But he is an all-world talent. And with another year kind of under his belt in the majors, I have a feeling he is going to be a name we are all very familiar with by the end of the 2026 season. IBW clearly feels the same way. They have him ranked at number 67 on that list. So he's probably a guy that'll mix into that outfield. We've been talking about best outfields in the league. Yordan Alvarez, Kyle Stowers, Corbin Carroll, Randy, with Dylan Cruz in that mix as well. BigPeach is absolutely in the mix of those teams with one of the best outfields in the league. We'll quickly, I guess I'll talk over this lineup. It's an unbelievable lineup. It was, I think, specifically the lineup that as I wrote it down, I texted Peach right afterwards on Discord and I said, "Oh my God, man, your team is unbelievable." Like, it is just, I think it has the ceiling you can dream on, and the floor you can count on. It is, by all accounts, going to be one of the best lineups in the league this year. And I think it, has a chance to even pop up further than I think we could see it. If we see a full healthy year out of Yordan Alvarez, when's the last time we've seen something like that? If Schwarber keeps doing what he's been doing, if Dylan Cruz has the breakout, does Drake Baldwin get better? He's only 24, I mean, there is a lot of room, obviously, for even more growth there in what is already a really good lineup. Sliding over to the pitching staff, we have a group of 6 guys I'll be covering who will probably be getting starts for the Melonheads. Leading things off is Jacob deGrom, who ranks at number 80 on IBW's list. Of course, deGrom, one of the best pitchers in the world, and pitched a full healthy season last year, which is obviously something we haven't seen for a while. So certainly we know BigPeach and his Melonheads will be hoping for another one of those. Robbie Ray at the 2 spot with Michael King at 3. I really like that combo near the top of the rotation. Robbie Ray quietly had an awesome year in San Francisco last year, and Michael King, I think since that, being the main piece in that Soto trade, has just been fantastic in San Diego. Joey Cantillo, who I mentioned earlier, and Chris Bassett are at the 4 and 5 slots. A little bit of Bassett is the high floor, Cantillo is the high ceiling, with, of course, inverse floors and ceilings for the others, if you will. We know what Bassett is. He's not going to, churn out a Cy Young 5 season, but he's going to pitch plenty of innings. He's going to get, a solid number of strikeouts, and he's not going to give up too many runs. So I think that's a great player to have. I've said my piece on Cantillo. I really like him. I think that he fits Cleveland's pitching program perfectly. I think a lot of his underlying metrics last year actually indicate he could have a much stronger season this year. So that's someone definitely look out for. And then Jose Soriano at the 6th spot there. One of the better pitchers out in Anaheim. Obviously that is, damning with faint praise a little bit, but he's put together a solid few seasons in a row. Jose Soriano, and I'm just quickly looking at his, he's only 27, so a guy who we could see even more out of. You never know. A couple other names to just keep an eye on are Nick Martinez, who's out in Tampa Bay now. And Zebby Matthews in Minnesota. A couple of other starting pitchers who will probably get some regular run in that rotation. Over to the bullpen, it is closer central over here. Kind of said on the last episode for my team, there are basically no closers. This team is the, oops, all closers cereal box. We've got Aroldis Chapman, Ryan Helsley, and Kenley Jansen, with a bonus non-closer of Jason Adam added in there, who's been incredibly solid in San Diego for a few years now. So Peach is going to be counting, I think, on a lot of saves from that trio. Certainly, I hope that the first one is getting plenty of saves, and an improved Orioles team, I think, should see a lot of good work out of Helsley. And Kenley Jansen, who's on the Tigers this year, I think that is going to be a sneaky, really, really great player to have. He's 38, so obviously, no spring chicken, but I think he's been such a great example of a pitcher who has changed the way he pitched as he aged. He in 2017, when he was really at that peak, he was throwing that really hard cutter and all that stuff, and he mixes it up like crazy now. I think he throws probably 4 pitches and messes with hitters' timing. And I am speaking only from the experience that I saw him for a year in Boston, or a couple years actually. Yeah, a couple years there. He can still get guys out. He just does it. And on a Detroit team that I think we all expect to win quite a few games, that's somebody to definitely keep an eye on. So I think a really, really solid pitching staff overall. Obviously not quite the heights of the lineup, but great stuff. You do have that top end talent in a DeGrom, some, I think, solid consistency in a King and a Bassett. And then, if we see a repeat or even, 85% of a repeat from Robbie Ray, I think we're looking at like really, really a quality rotation here. So, if Peach, maybe goes out and I don't know if he flips one of these outfielders for that's an unbelievable outfield. Flips an outfielder for a starting pitcher or something like that. I think that we are probably looking at one of the best teams in this league. Things only get better when we get down to the prospects. You can hear me gushing a little bit about Peach's team. I'll discuss it when I get to the record in just a moment. But a couple of really strong prospects, along with, of course, J.J. Weatherholt. Weatherholt ranks at number 7 on the prospect list, along with, of course, as I mentioned, ranking at number 66 on the overall list. Also coming in at number 20 on the prospect list, we have Carson Benj, who's looking like he's going to most likely open the season, if not be up by, mid-April for the Mets. He's got just a vicious left-handed swing, really premium defender in the outfield. And all the projections, by prospect people have him with, 25 home run type upside in his bat. Something you love to see out of a prospect is just the all-around athleticism. He's a really athletic guy. And although it has not yet, I think a lot of people believe it can translate to base stealing. So he may even start to integrate some steals in there. And it looks like he'll probably be getting a decent amount of run in the Mets outfield there this season, alongside Robert and Soto. So he could be another guy that's joining, frankly, an already stacked outfield group. And then our second prospect that we'll mention is actually another Met in Jonah Tong, who's ranked at prospect number 26. Fastball changeup combo is really what he relies on. Quite an underrated curveball. It's, I think, a really good pitch that is not sort of the flashy one that stands out, but something I think could be a real weapon for him. Facing the facts, he had a really tough MLB debut, but he absolutely decimated the upper minors last year, 1.47 ERA. So clearly he has the stuff. I want to say oh my God, I can't remember his strikeout rate at this point. I want to say 40, but that sounds crazy. It was a crazy, crazy swing and miss strikeout rate. I'm going to clip this because I'm going to look it up after if that was really dumb and it wasn't at 40%. But just unbelievable stuff. This is obviously in the minors when he was there. So he has all the arm talent in the world. And I think Jonah Tong is going to be phenomenal, and will probably be making some starts as well this year. Fun fact about Jonah Tong, which I really like, as a fellow fan of the franchise, I guess he grew up a big Star Trek fan, and so he throws a Vulcan changeup instead of a regular changeup because he liked, the Vulcan salute. And that is like what inspired him to throw the Vulcan changeup, and then it ended up being, his primary combo with that fastball. So kind of a fun story there with Tong. You've heard it in my voice this whole episode. I am really high on BigPeach's team. My prediction for this team is that we're going to see them go 13-8. And I do have this as my first yes. I believe that the Fenton Melonheads will be making the playoffs in 2026. And I see them making a pretty significant run as well. I think especially if we see maybe a trade from that outfield core again to pick up top of the line, sort of a true number 2 behind DeGrom, maybe even a 1, depending on who he wants to trade. I think we could see this turn, into a team that is just an absolute force across the league. So I certainly have a lot of belief in what BigPeach has got going on here. Kind of surprised when I put the list together. I thought, oh my God, 2 adds and, 2 subtractions with, 3 guys then also leaving in the expansion draft, but not that much needed to be done because this is a great team. We will be back tomorrow at the halfway mark for the PSPs. Thank you all for joining, and I will see you then.
that makes you Larry
Lollygaggers.
Lollygaggers.